comfortable to communicate their feelings and they're more open. But it just is sad to me that at least most veterinarians that I've worked with have had that moment where it's like you just break down because it's just too much.
And there is that expectation. And I think it's, like I said, I think it's something that is ingrained in the training to become a veterinarian, is that it's like the unspoken rule that you need to come out and you need to be able to handle anything and show no emotional response to it. You know what I mean? You just need to be able to handle any case situation, any client reaction, any, impingement on your time, the owner showing up with 2 or 3 pets when they only scheduled 1. And, those types of situations, you're just expected to handle those with equanimity. And it's like, that's not reality. You know what I mean? And I think that there's not a vet that I have worked with, and my own self is included as a technician with other technicians, that we don't all reach that point of that there's one day where we just lose it, where we click a nail and we're crying for an hour about it off in the corner because, you know what I mean? Yeah. It just reached that overload point, you know what I mean?
That nail is my whole career.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's something that, again, I think that's why this profession is reaching the point that it is now. And I'm excited about the fact that there is more willingness to start to look at it. And I'm hoping that as, that as the kind of 20,000 foot level perspective is starting to see it as a necessity because the trends are becoming more publicized, and I'm kind of glad that there was the 2014 AVMA study, which kind of scared the crap out of everybody with the increased mental incidences. And, the 2018 Merck study that kind of challenged that data a little bit and said, well, maybe it's not as bad as we thought, but there definitely is a well-being issue where there's a lot of stress and anxiety being endured by veterinarians, and in particular female veterinarians who deal with it more. They're more emotional, and they have to have the same expectations put on them. You know what I mean? That I think their male counterparts, I'm not saying that they're not caring as much or they're not feeling the emotions, but I think that the way that we process emotions between women versus men is different. And I think as women, we have also done this self-imposed that if we're going to try and be out there working in these professions and say we're equals, we feel we need to stifle some of these natural emotional responses we have. Mm-hmm. And that's, again, not going to be a sustainable strategy. But there are healthy ways that we can start to look at it. And I'm hoping that 20,000 foot overview that has kind of opened up the doors through the Merck study and through some of the other social studies that have been done with veterinary populations, that it does start to trickle down where people who are working in these isolated practices where there's only 1 or 2 veterinarians, and one of them is the old school veterinarian who just says this is the way we do it, that there does start to be more openness to say, well, I'm not alone in this, because there's a lot of other people out there who are saying that they're kind of experiencing the same things I am. Mm-hmm. And if there's enough of us out there saying that it doesn't have to be that way. And then there's the other aspect of it. If there's people like me going out there and saying that, you know what, it's not just the vets who need to help themselves, but you as clientele need to start understanding that they don't deserve to be treated any different from your human doctor. Mm-hmm. They go through just as much education. They've put in just as much time, and they're dealing with cases with people who can't tell them what's wrong. And you know what I mean? Like your expectation that they should endure more, do it for less, that's not justified. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think that if we continue to educate and bring this out into the light and let veterinarians know they're not alone. I'm not saying that all of them are going to become and be willing to go out and get life coaching, but maybe they are going to start seeking resources and do what you're doing and say, you know what, my self-care does matter to me. And I'm going to go out there and I'm going to find resources that are working for me. And I'm going to start to make some changes because I don't want to end up at that aspect where I'm 45 and I'm saying I need to get the F out of veterinary medicine because it's going to kill me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely do. And I'm super excited to see, as you go through this journey more, like how the reception or the perception changes. Because I think a lot of veterinarians don't want to admit, but people in my generation, like, I guess Generation X, like, we are confronted by the baby boomers who are like, work, work, work. And so we've had that mentality. And now we're starting to say, okay, we need to take care of ourselves. And then you have a lot of the millennials who come out with this expectation of a work-life balance. And I think our initial reaction is, well, that's not fair. It's our turn. Right, it's our turn to have work-life balance. Why do you get it right away? But really, it should be, well, why didn't we think of that sooner?
Yeah. And that is the natural reaction. It's so funny because that would be the natural reaction, because I know I've looked at it with the millennials coming up after me because I'm like, really? Like, my stepchildren, they used to say to me, well, that's not right. You shouldn't have to do that. And I'm like, but no, that's what, my parents taught me. That's what you do. You know what I mean? Right. And then the more I thought about it, they were like, oh, well, you know what? They're right. And I'm now opening my eyes to, and I have been for a while now, the fact that this probably should have always been our right to say that we had this right to a work-life balance. But you're right. We are in the Gen Xers. We are right in between of raised by the old school and being educated by the younger, coming up. Yeah. And it's kind of, I think, I think that it's going to be really great to see the example that we're going to bring for the younger generation coming up, because I think that we don't want to see the pendulum swing too far the other direction too, where we lose that empathy. I definitely don't want to see us reach a point where we're saying my self-care means I have a right to be apathetic. Right. I think we definitely need to maintain that balance. You know what I mean? So, and I don't think the millennials are doing that. That's not what I'm saying at all. I think that there actually is a lot of empathy and compassion in the younger veterinarians who are coming out. But I think it's really going to be, I think we are in the Gen Xers, we are in the best position to say we've seen both sides of it. And, we are really at an really great period in time to educate the next generation of saying, yeah, we support you in this, right? But look at the other perspective too, of always being able to say you need to look at the broader perspective and always make sure that there is that balance between self-care, work ethic, and passion and compassion and empathy for your patients. You know what I mean? So finding that balance between all those areas is very difficult. And I think that, you and me, I mean, I don't know how old you are. I know I'm probably older than you. I think because I'm going on 50. But, we are in a really kind of, a really nice point where we are able to change ourselves and we're able to educate ourselves and really teach that to the younger generation while still carrying over some of those principles that we liked about the old school. You know what I mean? So being able to have that balance between self-care and a really great work ethic is, I think, something that we should all strive for, because I think that's really where sustainable veterinary medicine needs to be, is you need to be able to have that great work ethic with the self-care so that you can balance.
Well, thank you so much for joining me, and it was neat that we met on LinkedIn and you were willing to come onto my podcast.
Yes, well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to, just get it out there and start getting the word out there that people like me exist, because I don't think, it's not just that. I think that as many people as I meet who say you're a veterinary life coach, I've met just as many veterinarians who've been like, you're a veterinary life coach? You know what I mean? Yeah. So I appreciate the opportunity to be able to come on with you and talk about this, because I think it's really fabulous. And I am so grateful that you gave me the opportunity to come on and talk with you today.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed this 2-part series with my interview with a veterinary life coach, Cindy Gannon. And now we are going to hear the pet tales of Ranger and Sadie.
we have a lot of squirrels at our house, and they have been getting bolder. They keep coming closer and closer to the sliding glass door, and Ranger has been very interested in the squirrels, and one day he was in hunt mode, down, ready to go. He's going to pounce, and the squirrel saw him, and they both leaped for each other at the same time, and they both hit the glass at the same moment, and then bounced off. It was pretty funny.
That's amazing.
And then he didn't jump anymore.
Oh, he took glass door to the face.
Poor Ranger.
We've been coming to Independent Hill Veterinary Clinic now for almost 19 years. Our first dog, Carolina, was a golden retriever, and when she got sick towards the end, she was 15 and a half, and I was not in town, and my husband has a back problem, and I called and I said, what can we do, because he can't lift her, and it was wonderful. The doctor came to our house with a technician, and they let him have time with her, and then put her to sleep, and then brought her back up here, and then we had her ashes, and we still have them displayed. And they were so nice that they even sent us a sympathy card to recognize what a great dog she was. And we had Sadie, who was a rescue pup, and was very, very, very sick when we got her. She had a terrible case of the mange where we thought that she was going to have to be put down. And the same thing, they just wouldn't give up on her, and we had this horrible medication where we had to really peel her skin, to get the parasites off, and she had to have an eye operation, and literally she had no hair when she was this little itty-bitty puppy. And today, with the help of the chiropractic adjustments and the diet that she's been put on, she's really doing well, and she's a happy, happy little girl, and she gives a lot of joy to a lot of people, and I really appreciate everything that you do to support our puppies. It just takes a load off your mind knowing that they're in such good care.
Aww,
so thank you.
Thank you. Can I give you a hug?
Yeah.
It's the first on record hug.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. That was
Thank
really
you.
sweet. I think that about wraps it up. As always, thank you for listening to this installment of Vetsplaining. I hope you enjoyed your time with me and ideally learned at least one new thing for the day. If you have any questions or suggestions for future topics, feel free to leave a comment below or email info@independenthillvet.com and put podcast topic or podcast comment in the subject line. Until next time.